minutes early here. I would rather be early than late, so here I am, a little early. And if you'll forgive me, I'm going to be writing some things down while I wait for my participants to enter the room. Hello. Hi. It's lovely to see you. How are you this Sunday? Well, I hope you're well. Hello and welcome to everyone who has just joined. Hello, welcome. Move this back a tiny bit. There we go. I'm good, thank you. How are you? I'm fine. I'm well. Thank you very much for asking. This is going to be a really fun and informative Instagram Live, so I'm really happy that there are so many people here because we're going to be talking about character and posture today. Hello, Mia Elizabeth Hayes. Hello, darling. It's wonderful to see you. I've been waiting for this live since you announced it. Thank you. I'm really excited to be doing this. So I'm still a few minutes early, and I prefer to be early rather than late. So we are going to wait for just a few minutes so we can get a few more people to trickle in. People have a tendency to be late, and I do not like late, so I like to start a few minutes early. So we are going to wait for just a short time for everybody else to kind of pile in here. Let's see. Okay, one more minute. We will wait for one more minute. It's better to start earlier than late. That is true, Jerry. Hello. It is much better to start earlier rather than late. All right, so I think we're just going to get started here because I would rather not wait for too long to lose the interest of the people who are already in here. So let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about how I get into character. And I utilize a few different methods of doing this, and I think that you may be able to learn from me. So I'm going to share a few of those today. The first thing that I use to get into character are the obvious. I do my costume, my wig, my makeup, and my lenses. So as soon as I'm able to get into costume and into character, then it's, well, into costume, makeup, wig, and lenses, it's a lot easier for me to embody the character. I look in the mirror and I look at how I look and how I feel, and it all just kind of helps it come together and make me feel a little bit more in character and put together. It's a lot easier for me to be in character when I'm in costume. So being out of costume makes it a little bit harder for me, but I think that we will survive. And thank you, Jerry. I love my red eyes. Look. I like the ones that are textured, so they have some, these ones are hand painted, so they're a little more expensive, but they are beautiful, and they are hand painted with a little bit of smear and a little bit of bleeding on the outside and on the inside, so it's not a solid red color. It's more of a sheen, and it's more of a texture and a transition, and I really like that look. So thank you very much. I love these eyes. All right, so after we do wig and costume and makeup and lenses, like the obvious, oh, thank you very much. We're going to talk about posture. Posture for Aro is very important, not only because he's a very poised character, but because he's a very classical character. So he is 3,000 years old, he's a gentleman above all else, and he just has a very distinct, unique, and strict posture that he follows. And because he's a powerful character, they have a tendency to give powerful characters good posture and good poise, and that's because it helps them to seem more intimidating, because they're more put together and they're more it's like every aspect of themselves is controlled. So if they're able to do that, then they are more imposing of a character. So according to a classical guide that was put out in the, I think it was the late 1800s, there was a man that put out an etiquette book for men, and he detailed when men should open carriage doors for women, when they should stand, when they should sit. And I use that as my baseline guide just because I feel like Aro's character is a little more classical rather than ancient, so especially the way they portray him in the films. So when you're a male and you're sitting, you're going to sit with your knees together with one foot tucked behind your other ankle. Now, if you want to, you can spread your knees just a little bit, but you'll notice that the Volturi men don't really, I think the really crude term for it is man spreading. I don't appreciate that term, but they don't sit with their knees really far apart. Instead, they sit with their knees. You can either sit with them facing forward, facing parallel, or you can touch them together, and then you can cross one foot behind the other ankle. So that's how they sit. If you'll notice in some of the photos that the Volturi kings are sitting in, they're kind of leaning a little bit to one side, or they're sitting very rigidly, but you'll notice that their knees are never super far apart. They're either kind of parted like this, they're either parallel, or they're close together. Yeah, that's the term. I hate that term. I really dislike that term. I just find it to be a little bit demeaning. So I don't think that we should be demeaning other people to raise ourselves higher. That's just what I think. Okay, with posture, we just talked about sitting. Now we're going to talk about standing. And when you stand, and I'm going to adjust this a little bit. When you stand, your shoulders should always be parallel to the floor. So it's really easy for people to kind of stand like this, with their head bowed down a little bit and their shoulders real straight. We're going to bring it upward and keep the shoulders to the sides. Right. There we go. You see the difference? Yeah. So you'll want to make sure that you have your shoulders and they're parallel to the floor. Now we're going to talk about walking. Walking is so much fun. I took a theater class in college that I really enjoyed, and my teacher taught us the importance of walking. And I have never, ever thought about walking, ever. And this was such an interesting concept to me because he taught us that you can completely change how a character looks and feels by changing the way that they walk. So I will demonstrate. Most women have a tendency to walk with their center of gravity, and the center of gravity is their hips. So when they walk, their hips have a tendency to sway back and forth. Okay. When men walk, their center of gravity is in their shoulders, so they have a tendency to sway with their shoulders a little bit when they walk. So I'm going to demonstrate for you quickly the difference between these two walks. We're going to do the women's walk first. Watch my hips. Ready? One more time. You notice the way how my hips go back and forth while I'm walking? That's a very feminine walk. So now we're going to change it to a more masculine walk. Do you see the way I walk with my shoulders first? An interesting activity that you can try. Have someone watch you and then immediately start walking forward and have them tell you what the first part of your body moves first. That's where your center of gravity is. Just a fun little experiment. My theater teacher had us do that exercise and I really, really enjoyed it. Okay, we did sitting, standing, walking, posture. And now we're going to talk about the accent. Oh, the accent. All right. Michael Sheen chose to portray Arrow with a very rounded English accent, not British, English. English and British are a little bit different from one another in that the British have a tendency to spike their consonants, and the English will round all of their consonants as they speak. So instead of talking like how I talk right now with my natural accent, his accent is a little more rounded, and things are a little more complete and a little more contemporary and specialized and careful and postured, and that's how he has a tendency to speak. So it takes a lot of practice, like any accent does, but if you put a little bit of practice to it, I think you can do very well. Jerry says, gosh, I walk masculine. That's okay. We all have to take a little bit of practice with our walks. All right, so we just talked about accent. If you're interested, you can look up a lot of YouTube videos about how to change your accent. It's actually pretty cool. Hello, newcomers. Hello, darling. Ooh, let's talk about hands while we're talking about postures. Noodle Reality says, I honestly love what Michael Sheen did to portray Arrow's voice. I love what he did. I feel like, and I don't mean to demean any of the other actors, but I feel like Michael Sheen put so much work into Arrow, and it shows. So the way he sits, the way he reacts to things, even his little micro expressions are so telling of just the level of actor that he is in his classical training. And, oh, thank you, Jerry. Your Arrow impression and your accent is amazing. Thank you. It takes practice. Just like any type of character portrayal does. Speaking of which, when I very first get to the festival, not only am I practicing his character all year long before I do this, but as soon as I get to the festival, I like to immediately get into character whenever I meet people that I know. And they know that I do this, and I just immediately kind of sink a little bit more into his character, and I'll put on his accent, and I'll kind of adapt his mannerisms, because I'm trying to get back into character full time. So it's just something little that you can do, is just kind of practice speaking and practice moving. Aro's hands are a huge focal point, not only because his gift is centered there, but because he's very expressive with his hands. So it's important for you to memorize kind of some of his hand gestures, right? There's actually a book, it's called Shakespearean Hand Gestures, and I think I only have like a single issue copy of it. I don't think it was actually mass produced. I have no idea where I got it from. I also have a palm reading book. I have no idea where I got it, but it talks about different hand postures and why it's important with the way that you speak. Now, lucky for me, I'm a very expressive talker with my hands. So I don't really have too much of a problem with speaking with my hands. But a really important part of Aro is speaking with his hands. So if you're going to talk with him, if you have your hands straight down at your sides and you're talking like this, it's very militant and it's not very inviting. And Aro has a tendency to be very inviting because he wants you to be his friend, because he wants your gift. Exactly. I loved his laugh in Breaking Dawn Part 2. It makes me laugh every time. So fun fact about that. Michael Sheen actually said that laugh that they chose for the film is actually the most tame of the laughs that he did. He said he practiced in the hotel room for hours with these crazy cackles and with these laughs and with this maniacal expression of his glee. And they chose that one, which I think is funny because he said that was like the nicest one that he did. So he was surprised about that. Chica Vigana says, I've seen you FTF and you're intimidating. Just like being in Aro's presence, you truly bring him to life. Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. I absolutely adore playing Aro, and it really helps to play a character well if you like your character. So thank you. That's so nice. Like, I'm so touched. Thank you. I've seen videos of you as Aro and FTF, and you look and sound amazing. Oh, thank you very much. It takes a lot of practice. And I'm practicing all year long, and I think that my husband is so tired of me practicing because I'll randomly use his accent or I'll use his hand gestures a lot. And we got into an argument once, and I got very, very Aro-esque, being very tactful with my words and things like that. And he goes, okay, Aro, that's enough. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But it's just become kind of a part of who I am. Intimidating in a great way. I know that you mean intimidating in a great way. Thank you so much. It also helps that I'm kind of a charismatic person to begin with, so I don't have to force the charisma. But it also is very beneficial to me that I love the guests at FTF. You guys are my reason for living, pretty much. Probably not as dramatic sounding, but you guys are my motivation to be bigger and better, and I hope that you know that. And I love and appreciate you all very much. If I had the time, I would give every single one of you a huge hug and just tell you how much you mean to me and how much I appreciate you. So if you see me at FTF and I'm not in costume and not in character, please come give me a hug, because I'm more than happy to give you a hug and tell you how much you mean to me and to get to know you as a person. So next time you see me at FTF, come up to me, introduce yourself, and say, may I get a special hug from you? And I would say, of course you can get a special hug from me. So I'm so excited for FTF this year. It's going to be amazing this year. I'm on the planning committee, and there are so many cool things coming down the track that I can't tell you about, but it's going to be great, and I'm very excited. Jerry says, he won't suck my blood, will he? I would love to meet the vampire, but Aro will turn me into a vampire when I meet him this year, will he? Unfortunately not. I think that there are the Volturis at capacity, so unless you have a very special gift, then I don't think that he would consider changing you into a vampire. It's honestly so amazing that there's people like you out there who continue to bring this fandom to life. Thank you so much for you do and your fellow cosplayers. Thank you so very much. That is so sweet, and that's very genuine, and I appreciate that very much. And the other cosplayers put just as much time and just as much dedication into this, and it shows, and I'm very grateful to be a part of that. I have an amazing idea of a pose that we could do at FTF in the picture. Tell me. I want to hear. I look forward to seeing you every year. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you guys every year. And I'm serious when I say, if I'm not in costume or not in character, come up and give me a hug. I'm very affectionate that way. I'm going to set this down quickly. bad lighting. There we go. It's easier for me to look at the comments if I'm not walking around. Okay, so we talked about hands. We talked about practice and interaction. The last thing that I have is music. So I keep an updated playlist every year of music that I listen to help me get into Arrow's character. And just like Arrow, it's very enigmatic and it's very eclectic. So I wrote down, let's see, I listened to a lot of Within Temptation. I love them. They're coming to concert in March or April this year and I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Within Temptation. I listen to a lot of classical music. So I love Beethoven and Wagner. And so Beethoven's Tempest, the third movement is one of my favorite pieces to listen to when I'm trying to get into Arrow's character. So if you have a chance, go onto YouTube, type in Beethoven's The Tempest, third movement on the piano. Absolutely amazing piece. Not only does it capture the tumultuous nature of, I'm sure, what's going on in his mind, but it has very, very sweet moments of riposte where it just kind of settles everything down and it feels very sweet. And then it goes right back into just being this crazy tempest, like a storm-tossed sea kind of chaos, but it's still so beautiful. I love that piece. If you get a chance, listen to that piece. I also listen to a lot of string music. So Lacrimosa it's actually a chant, is not as much as it's string music, but Mozart, Berlioz, and Verdi also did arrangements of it. And if you like Evanescence, actually Evanescence did a cover of it called Lacrimosa. You should listen to it. It's actually pretty cool. So those are some of the bigger ones I listen to. So we could act as if you're going to bite my neck as Arrow and I would have a scared expression on my face. That would be so cool. We have to do that this year. You make me smile and happy every single day. I love how dedicated you all are. Thank you. It's really enjoyable for me. And I hope that I can at least bring some joy to you as I have joy doing this for myself. So I'm really glad that you enjoy me. Thank you. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these guys, but they're called the Civil Wars, and they are a duo group. They do a lot of acoustic music, and they have a song called Poison and Wine that I listen to a lot by the Civil Wars, and that one helps me to get into Arrow's character very, very much. It's very melancholy sounding, but it has this little era of sweetness. I like to think that Arrow is a very conflicted and enigmatic character, so when... Oh, I love the Civil Wars. Yes, someone's heard of them. Awesome. Listen to Poison and Wine, and that song really helps me to kind of get in the mood. Same with the one that comes right after that. There's no singing. It's just an instrumental song. It comes right after that track on their Civil Wars album. God, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, great piece. That whole album is really good. Just go ahead and listen to it. But I like to think that Arrow is a very conflicted person. So instead of having him, like in the films, they portray him to be this evil mastermind of a character, and I really don't like that. In the books, they never portray them to be the villains. They look at them as like a necessary evil. But even then, in the books, they never say like, oh, they're just bloodthirsty, they're terrible, they're monsters. But in the movie, I feel like they really go out of their way to make the Volturi all like scary, and yeah, we murder tourists, and you know, and we just want to kill everybody, and we don't like other vampires, and we keep to ourselves, and we're the royalty. And I really don't feel like it's that way. So I like to think that Arrow is very deep and layered and enigmatic. So this music playlist really helps me to tap into that. Oh, my last one. If you guys ever listen to a group, it's called E.S. Posthumous. They do a lot of upbeat music that plays a lot with rhythms. There's no singing in it. It's all instrumental. Really cool stuff. Where did the idea inspiration come from the Eternity is Not Perfect video? Okay, so one of my friends is an amateur filmmaker, and we were just talking one day, and he said, I'm looking for a new project. I know you do cosplay. Is there anything you'd like to do? And I said, actually, I've always wanted to do kind of a piece that shows Arrow's inner conflict and make him a little more, for lack of a better term, human. So I'm not trying to humanize him, so to say, but the Colons all have very human tendencies. So I mean, maybe it's because they're just so recently changed, or they're not as old as he is. Maybe it's because they interact with humans every day, but they have these layers to them that make them more relatable to the readers. And I feel like the Volturi don't have that, but they were humans once too. So I wanted to make a video that would show that Aro has these moments too of regret and sadness and things like that. So I got together with him, we made this video, it turned out really, really well, and I'm very proud of that video. And not to mention, we had so much fun making it. It was so fun. The only part that I didn't like is, you'll notice just toward the end of the shoot, my skin is kind of shiny. And first of all, it drives me crazy because I'm a perfectionist and I don't like the sheen, I don't like the shine. But we had to close, we were filming in this castle and we had to close all of the windows to keep the lighting dark, and there was no breeze and we were all so hot. I mean, between takes, I was taking books and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so hot in here. So and I'm wearing a suit and I've got my wig on and my makeup on, and the crew is over there like drinking water and going like this, and I'm on set like, oh my gosh. So it was really, really fun, but it was really hot. You bring so much joy and happiness to my life. Thank you for keeping Twilight and Aro's memory alive. Thank you. Thank you. You need to start an Aro playlist on Spotify. I'd love to listen. Okay. I can do that. Yes, I'm going to do that today. Actually, I'm going to put that together today. Hello, Forever Twilight Saga. Oh, well, it was really well put together. Thank you. I had a big hand in helping to edit it, so it really is my project. It's not just I was in it, but I sat with my friend, his name's Landon. Landon and I sat and worked on this and edited it and conceptualized and storyboarded it, and we worked so hard on it. And so I'm very proud of that. Very, very, very much. Okay, so it sounds like I have to write this down. So I need to put together a Spotify playlist. Where is the best place for me to put my Spotify playlist when it's done? Should I put it on Instagram? Should I put it on my Facebook page? I'm not sure where the best place. I'd love to listen to that Aro playlist too. Yes, this is gonna be awesome. Okay, I'm writing down songs right now. And you guys are also totally welcome to send me songs that you think are good for Aro. And I'll listen to them, and if I think they're a great match, then I'll add them to that playlist. Instagram, both. Okay. I'll put it both places just in case. All right, I think we are nearing to the end here. I don't want to take up anybody else's time, especially on a Sunday where it's kind of everyone's day of rest. So thank you so much for joining me for this. I appreciate you all so much. And not only does it make me feel good to see people support me, but I hope that you can feel like I support you, because I do, and I care, and I love you all very much. And I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. I'm going to save this video and pin it to my Instagram feed, so you'll be able to rewatch it if you would like some more etiquette lessons. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Arrivederci.